3 days after I moved in, a black SUV screeched to a stop in front of my gate. 4 people stepped out, jackets with HOA logos stitched across the chest, clipboards in hand like they were agents from some government agency. They shoved a notice at me, a $50,000 fine. "Pay up or get out," one of them sneered. All because I had bought the one piece of land they wanted. I didn't know it yet, but that was just the opening shot in a war that nearly broke me. My name is Ethan Cole. For most of my life, I was a designer in Seattle building sustainable tech offices and green homes. But 6 months ago, my wife Emily lost her fight with cancer. Seattle turned into nothing but rain and grief. Emily had always dreamed of a cabin by a lake, quiet, filled with light, where we could watch the seasons change together. After she passed, I couldn't shake the thought that building that cabin was the last promise I owed her. So, when I found 2.5 acres of lakefront property in Colorado, I jumped. I told myself it was a sign, a bargain price that meant the universe wanted me to finish what she started. The first few days felt like peace. I stayed in a small construction trailer, sketched out solar layouts and geothermal heating plans, and listened to the loons call across Clearwater Lake. I felt like maybe I could breathe again. Then Clarissa showed up. Clarissa Wynn, president of the Pine Ridge HOA, though the title might as well have been dictator. Blonde hair, lacquered into a helmet smile sharp as glass, 3 men behind her built like bodyguards. She shoved a violation notice at me stamped with more seals than a government treaty and said my construction disrupted their 5-year community plan. I laughed. My land was clearly outside their boundaries. I'd done my homework. But Clarissa's smile didn't budge. "Boundaries can be adjusted when community interests are at stake," she purred. Then, dropping the act, "You have 48 hours. When she left, a drone buzzed over my head, filming me like prey. That night, staring out at the lake, I thought about Emily. About her last words, "Don't let anyone steal our dream." I knew I had 2 choices: pack up and crawl away, or fight. And I decided right there if Clarissa wanted a fight, she was going to get one. The next week was a circus. A letter arrived, supposedly from urban planning, demanding a $5,000 environmental assessment fee. Looked official watermarks, embossed seals, the whole show. But one call to the county and they'd never heard of it. Meanwhile, my cameras caught Clarissa sneaking onto my property, measuring, taking photos, writing in a leather-bound journal. She wasn't just harassing me, she was preparing something big. So I struck back the way I knew how. I uploaded a video to YouTube. 15 minutes of pure evidence, her intimidation, their bogus find me calmly breaking down the law. I expected a few hundred views. Within hours, it had 50,000. By Sunday, 2.8 million. Lawyers emailed offering pro bono help. Journalists called. For a second, I thought maybe I'd won. But Clarissa wasn't going to let me win that easily. Monday morning, the attacks started. A video popped up on the HOA's Facebook page. Me standing at some meeting, cheerfully agreeing to join the HOA and pay their fees. Except it wasn't me. It was a deep fake. The voice, the scar above my eyebrow, even Emily's name, it was all there. It was terrifyingly real. Neighbors I'd never met banged on my door calling me a liar. The hardware store refused to sell me supplies. People spat on the ground when I walked by, and I started wondering, had I lost my mind? Could I have somehow gone to that meeting and forgotten? Alone in that trailer, staring at the screen, I felt like my grip on reality was slipping. For the first time, I thought about just paying the fine, packing it up, letting Emily's dream die with her. But then I remembered her voice, raspy, weak from morphine, telling me not to let anyone steal our dreams. And just like that, the doubt hardened into resolve. They weren't going to take this from me. I called Marcus Reed, an old college buddy who worked in federal AI forensics. I poured out the whole story. He didn't hesitate. Send me everything, he said. 2 days later, he sent back a report that tore the deepfake to shreds. Metadata, manipulation, mismatched shadows, timestamps proving it was fabricated days before the supposed meeting. Armed with his analysis, I confronted Clarissa in her marble and glass office. I laid the report on her desk. For the first time, her mask slipped. She tried to deny to deflect, but her hands trembled. And then, as if on cue, my phone buzzed a call from an unknown number. A voice, robotic and distorted. "Stop now, or your friend's sister will suffer." They knew about Marcus. They knew too much. The game turned darker. One morning, a checkpoint appeared at my gate, 2 men in crisp uniforms, a sign that read Colorado State Building Safety Division. They demanded a $5,000 inspection fee to let me back on my own land. But the patches were crooked, the IDs laminated like cheap printouts. I photographed everything, sent it to the real estate office. They confirmed it was all fake. Government impersonation, a federal crime. And still, Clarissa pushed. My electricity cut out my internet, throttled utility companies claimed they'd received official suspension requests. And then the worst, my storage shed went up in flames. I grabbed a fire extinguisher, but it was useless. Everything I'd stockpiled for the cabin burned. But my cameras caught the arsonist. It wasn't some hired thug. It was Robert Wynn, Clarissa's husband. And he wasn't even careful. One of my cameras caught his profile clear as day. That was the final straw. I compiled everything. Fake documents, deepfake video, government impersonation, arson, and filed a complaint with the Attorney General. The FBI called me within days. Agent Victoria Hayes sat at my kitchen table with a folder that made my skin crawl. Clarissa's real name was Claire Watson. She'd done this in Texas, Nevada. Arizona, always the same. Playbook, weaponize the HOA, fabricate fines, crush homeowners until they sold cheap, then flip the land to Pinnacle Development for millions. I wasn't her first victim. I was just the first with the skills to fight back. The FBI had been watching Pinnacle for months. My evidence gave them the opening they needed. They asked me to help with a sting. The plan, I'd pretend to surrender, agree to sell my land, wear a wire, and let Clarissa incriminate herself. I'll be honest, I was terrified. She'd already burned my shed, faked entire government agencies. What would she do if she realized I was setting her up? But I thought of Emily, of the dream cabin. And I said yes. That night, 20 FBI agents crouched in the woods around my property, night vision goggles, glowing rifles at the ready. Clarissa arrived in another black SUV, her entourage spilling out like it was a corporate takeover. She sat across from me in my trailer, spread out contracts that valued my land $30,000 below what I'd paid. "Pinnacle Development will cover relocation," she said smoothly. "Of course there are environmental remediation costs." Her voice dripped false sympathy. I asked careful questions just like Agent Hayes coached me, and Clarissa couldn't resist bragging. She talked about soil contamination she'd made up, about projects in 6 other states, about deepfake technology she called quite convincing. Every word went straight to the recorder hidden in my collar. Then Hayes gave the signal. The night exploded with flashlights and shouts. FBI. Nobody move. Agents swarmed, the trailer rifles leveled. Clarissa's face drained of color, then twisted into fury. "You have no idea what you've destroyed," she hissed as Hayes cuffed her wrists. "This operation spans 12 states. You think you've won." Hayes didn't even blink. "Your CEO was arrested 2 hours ago. Your CFO's in custody in Denver. It's over." Clarissa's eyes darted to me, burning with hatred, but she said nothing more as they shoved her into the waiting van. Robert was arrested the same night, caught with accelerants still in his garage. For the first time in months, I stood on my land and felt silence. No drones overhead, no SUVs at the gate, no threats stuffed under my door. Just the lake, calm and endless the way Emily would have wanted. I'd beaten Clarissa. I'd beaten them all. And here's the truth I learned through it all: bullies only win when you let them.